Guys, welcome to another episode of Clustered Nuts. I'm so happy to have you join me today, and thank you for all the support, for even listening to that of last week. And if you haven't, I want you to go subscribe and even check it out. I'm here with someone today to discuss on emotions generally, and today we'll be looking at different experiences, relating it to the real world and expressing ourselves just as real as possible. So, here to discuss that with me is a good friend of mine, a brother. He's a songwriter, and he's really doing great. And can you just welcome with me, Abiola, today?
Thank you so much for having me on Clustered Nuts. I'm so happy to be here, and if you're online listening to me, I'm so happy to meet you also.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, can you introduce yourself briefly, or do you have any other thing you want people to know about you?
Okay, my name is Abiola, and I am a songwriter. I am like there are so many sides to myself, right? It depends on where you're looking at me, but I'm a father. I'm a husband to one wife. I one other thing I would just like to say is that I'm a product of the good relationships
Mm,
um, that that God has placed around my life. Like anytime I look at my life, I can say, "Oh, I've really enjoyed good relationships. How people have been able to help me, and I make the most of it." So, yeah, that's just the main thing about me. But if you want
mm.
to know anything about me, you can always search me out, and I
Thank
can
you.
review what you want to know.
And even guys, he's releasing a song soon, and I'll put it in the link for you to just go and listen to it. And he has a single right now. Yes, it is done. I'd like you guys
Mhm.
to just go and listen to that. The link will be in the description button below. So he's a great guy.
And also, if you want to know about me, you can check on abiolamusic.com so you can
Mm,
get to know more about me.
mm,
Just give me an email or whatever it is. I'll be willing to respond.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So today we'll be looking at emotions generally, and I believe there must have been a time where maybe you were so joyful as regards something, or maybe you were so down. Can you just share one or two experiences in that line with us?
Oh my God! In the little years that I've lived on this earth, I can tell you there have been different experiences, and but one of the striking ones would be the uh, when my wife was about to give birth.
Mm,
I think it was a mix of both the sad one and the joyful one because of
mm,
course when she started the whole labor thing, it was really really kind of difficult, and but
mm.
yet when the baby came, the baby is now 6 months old now.
Wow.
So that it's really joy in its purest form, but there are different ups and downs even while schooling, while but yeah, I think that for me, the like I say the recent one would be when my wife was about to deliver.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. And how come? How are you able to handle that? Were you, did you really validate such, or you felt like, no, I'm not feeling somehow about this situation?
Mhm. Okay, maybe I should just give a brief background of what really happened. Now, my wife started labor maybe on Wednesday,
Mm,
then she gave birth like 26 hours later.
wow.
So you can understand how she
Yeah.
was rolling on the bed, the contractions, everything, the pain she was going through.
Mm,
It was really, really a very serious one. And because she's my wife, right? I may not
yeah.
fully, I may not be able to fully conceptualize how painful the whole process was, but
Mm,
because I love her, I can still share in what she's going through because she's my wife, right? So, but at that
mm-hmm.
point, I can tell you it wasn't really a nice experience, and I will be true to myself. I just felt a little bit like, wow, what is going on with me? And that's why you just need to be sincere with yourself. And
Mm,
I feel the
mm,
only the only set of people who will not be sincere with themselves when they are in labor room with their wife are people who are so heartless, right? So if you're heartless and you don't love your wife, so you can feel like
You don't
nothing do
care
you, like
about.
nothing is, you don't care about what's happening, right? So
Yeah.
but I really care about what's going on, and I felt like no, this is really too much for this woman, and she's really
Mm,
going through a lot for about 26 hours. So
mm,
you, if you understand what I'm saying, so that's true.
yeah.
I will acknowledge that I felt, oh my god, what's happening.
How were you able to to pass through that kind of stage? At least that 26 hours is not a small time at all. At least there must have been evening, nights where were you
Hmm.
able to sleep well, and then how were you able to undo that situation? How did you express yourself?
Oh my god, oh my god. It started in the afternoon of the previous day, and
Yeah.
then is it afternoon or morning of the previous day, and we went to the hospital. Oh, they say it's 1 centimeter dilated, 2 centimeter, and it was like, what's going on? Can we just have this baby? At some point they had to pass in some epidural um, injection into her to reduce the pain, but you can see the way she's wiggling because
Wow.
of the contraction. But what happened, I think one of the things that really helped me then was I even though my mind was trying to remember a lot of things. In fact, I couldn't place my mind on
Mm,
one thing, but I kept
mm,
on reminding myself of the word of God. I kept on speaking it out. There's a
mm.
way when you continue to speak something, your mind begin to align to it, right? So, and I
Definitely.
also remember vividly speaking those words to my wife's ear, even though I guess she wasn't even hearing anything I'm saying, but I kept saying it. But I feel the remote after a long while, my mind was able to align with what I was saying. And believe me, I couldn't sleep all through the night. My eyes were so big, like so bulgy, and of course, you don't expect me to sleep in that kind of situation, right? And because I kept receiving calls from different angle, from my wife's mother, from her siblings, from everybody, pastor. Oh, it wasn't so nice.
And was there anything that helped during that process? Because of course you couldn't sleep. You mentioned already saying what at that point in time. But was there anything? Because I know that perhaps maybe even thoughts running through your mind, situations and everything. So was there anything you did at that moment apart from the talking you mentioned that helped?
Hmm. Yeah. The other thing would be to, like I said, once you begin to allow some negative thought into your life, it's just a matter of time before you start seeing them come to reality, whether you like it or not. So the other thing I would say I'm doing is to be able to filter out my thoughts. And because I told you I was speaking out what I remember in the scripture, what word of God is telling me, right? So my mind was aligning to that. Then later on, of course, there are still thoughts that are trying to, penetrate into my heart, but I was able to filter them out. So I know the ones that are negative, and the one and anytime I give into the negative thought, I feel so weighed down, and I feel so depressed at that point. But when I begin to filter those thoughts out, I'm able to, find my strength even in the midst of that situation. I'm able to, think carefully, reason well, right? Because in situations like that, I'm telling you, you will not be able to reason well. Your sense of reasoning will be so diminished. So, but yet, I feel that also helped me to be able to filter out my thoughts. So I know this one is because I'm afraid, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But is that the reality of your situation? I need to think positive thoughts, right? And that's really that was what really helped me in that situation.
So obviously, you just mentioned you have to think positive of any situation. So that's a great one in that line. So just thinking about it, uh, I believe there must have been times where maybe you went to a place or you entered a room, for instance, neutral. Maybe you're not feeling so happy or so you're not sad. You're just there, and then you had to leave that room so joyful, or maybe not too good, like angry or something like that. How were you able to undo situations like that? And I believe I would say that must have come through maybe emotional triggers, maybe triggers from one
Hmm.
person or the other. If you have any
Yeah.
instance, how are you able to handle situations like that?
Yes, and the truth of the matter is that we keep getting better. As we
Mm.
grow in life, we keep seeing things, even some of the things you have not come across before, right? And
Mm.
this is the beauty of the whole thing, that when I come, there are some things I've said, or there are ways that I've reacted, and later on I felt maybe I shouldn't have done things this way, right? And the reason
Mm.
is because I've not prepared my mind to be able to handle those situations. My wife do tell me something, that you don't just enter into um, a situation like without you knowing. Somehow in your mind, we have this capacity to be able to think ahead, right?
Mm.
And even before you sign those contracts, before you do, or maybe before those triggers come, you have the mental capacity to be able to think ahead. And if you are able to decide and say, oh, this is the way I want to react in this situation, I'm
Mm.
telling you, it's really going to help when you are faced with those triggers. In my own
Mm.
case, before I got married, I it was something that I've decided within me, that it doesn't matter what my wife will do, I
Mm.
can't let go of her. Like I can't um I can't behave irrationally. I can't just
Mm.
not forgive her. It's not possible. And trust me, my wife is a very loving person. She is very caring, but that position has really helped me to be able to, even if I'm faced with those situations, I know that it's going to be a walkover, because my mind is already conditioned to be able
Mm.
to accommodate. So I feel that's really helped in that regard.
Mm. So at least I have a is it predetermined thoughts towards that
Trust me,
thing.
it will really help when you are walking into something. You just have a predetermined kind of thoughts, and say, what if this happened, what if this happened. And
Mm.
the truth of the matter is that we walk into so many things without thinking them through, just
Yeah.
like I was discussing with someone lately. So you just walk into that relationship without any defined purpose, without any defined
Mm.
thoughts. You just walk into that contract without any guidance or leadings from, whether it's a professional guidance or whatever it is. You just walk into it without thinking things through. And when the
Mm.
problem arises, we'll feel so shattered, and we're like, oh, what is happening around me? So I think thinking things ahead really help. It makes
Mm.
us proactive, so it helps us to be able to decide how we're going to react.
Mm. Mm. That's great. And in just an instance of all these things that you've talked about, have you ever been in a situation whereby you were so angry or you had to react, you had to outburst? How did you undo it? Was there maybe a great damage done? And if there was, how did you undo it post that damage?
Hmm.
Or if there was none, how did you avoid that?
Yes, you see, and this is why, as human beings, or as men and women, wherever we are, this is why we need to acknowledge when we go wrong. And this is one of the
Mm.
most difficult things for people to acknowledge.
Mm.
There are times I've gone back to say I'm sorry for the way I reacted. I'm sorry for what
Mm.
I said. I'm sorry for what I did. And
Mm.
when we see ourselves as a work in progress, it will really help us. So I've said
Mm.
some things, I've done some things before which I later regretted. But I think what makes me a better person is me being able to acknowledge that, and being able to right my wrong, right?
Mm.
And you know build that relationship back. Some of those reactions cost me some relationships. I told you I'm a
Mm.
product of good relationships, right? So
Mhm.
it hurts me a lot when I lose some credible and very good relationship. I know these people, I have a good relationship with them, but somehow I just react irrationally, and those relationships were kind of broken. So it hurts me a lot. So what I did in those situations is to try to right my wrong, and
Mm.
acknowledge that this is I think I'm in the wrong this time around. There's nothing wrong in that. Whether you're a
Mm.
man or whether you're a woman, just acknowledge that
Mm.
you are wrong on something, and trust me, that's the beginning of your liberation into
Mm.
becoming a
Mm.
better person. So
Mm.
I feel so. It cost me. There are some that has cost me relationships. Some has cost me money because of the way I've reacted. Some have cost me, even cost me time. You know, you've
Mm,
invested so
mm,
much into something, and all because of one irrational decision, you just lose everything. So you see
mm,
what I'm saying right now. So it costs a lot if we behave irrationally, but when we're able
mm,
to just calm down, accept our wrong, and right things, right our wrong, I believe we can go further in life, and we can
mm,
build better relationships when we do that.
mm. Thank you. I believe from what you said, acknowledging is a key thing. Like you have to acknowledge when you're wrong or when you've even done something great. There are times you should acknowledge it and appreciate yourself
Hmm.
for doing that. Like so, and when you're also wrong, also acknowledge things like that. So, and I've seen situations whereby people explode and real explosion. But I've looked at this person that this person has never been like this. How come he or she is reacting this way? And I would say some of them are as a result of bottled emotions. What's your take on bottled emotions, and what would you advise someone that's actually bottling up a lot of things at the moment?
Hmm. I can say I'm the kind of person that that bottles emotion before, and
Mm,
and trust me, it won't help you, whether you like it or not. Like I remember while growing up, my mom used to say something that the way she described it then is she was like, you can't know my reaction. There was a day she told me
mm,
my heart is filled with darkness, and the reason why she said that was because something just happened over time, and one day I just the way I just behaved, I just scattered everything,
mm,
and she was like, why do you have to react this way? And
mm,
even while growing up, I've seen things like that happen over time, but I've learned to work around them. I've learned
mm,
to just let go of all of those things. And trust me, when you have constructive discussion with people, it
mm,
helps you to manage your emotion very well,
mm,
right?
mm,
You don't have
mm,
to agree with everybody. So there are so many people that will disagree with you. There are so many people that will say things, that you don't agree with. But there's a way you can constructively discuss those things, and you let go of whatever hurt that you are
mm,
going through. And that is just for me. So when you're bottling emotion, it's just like when you shake a bottle of maybe wine or
carbonated
beverage
drinks.
vigorously, for example
Mm,
Coca-Cola, when you shake it vigorously, in no time the bottle can break, or when you open it you see a lot of reaction, and
yeah.
that's why some people react irrationally, because they've been bottling a whole lot of things together. So
Mm,
it's not really a positive way of handling your emotion. Trust me,
mm,
it will weigh you down. You keep struggling. It can affect your health. It can affect your mind. It can affect
mm,
the way you
mm,
think. It can affect your relationship with people. You can imagine you are
mm,
bottling things up, and you are using that to react against your husband, or you are reacting against your co-worker in your
mm,
workplace. You are reacting against your friend. It has a destructive ability. So when you are bottling emotion, the best thing is for us to begin to let them out. And if you feel you don't want to just let it go like that, you can talk to a counselor, talk to a psychologist. This is why those people are there, to help us.
yeah.
Yeah, that's for me. I've really done that a lot, having to be able to talk to people, talk to counselors, talk to people who can
Mm,
be able to really help me in that
mm,
situation. And trust me, here I am today. I'm a married man. I have a wonderful wife, but we have
mm,
discussions,
mm,
we discuss things, and we go past all of those things. We move forward, right? So
mm.
that's the beauty of life.
Thank you for that. I think having a constructive discussion goes a long way. And if it's not still helping, talking to maybe a psychologist or a therapist, someone that can work on it is very great. Thank you for that. And
Mm.
I believe to wrap it up, can you just give us your final thoughts about emotions generally, the best way to undo situations, which I believe you've talked a lot about already, but just your final thoughts and maybe some basic things people should take note of when that comes to mind before being
Okay.
overly joyful or act irrationally. Then
Okay.
before gifting that your car out when you're so happy and not thinking about it afterwards. So what should
And you
come
know
to
the
mind?
the funny thing, it has happened to me before. I've done
Mm,
something, and it was a good thing, but I felt like, oh no, I shouldn't
I
have
shouldn't.
done this. I was so over the moon at that point, but later
Yeah.
on I began to say, why do I, what am I thinking?
Mm,
But yet, what I would just say is that be true to yourself,
mm,
and be true to yourself, and know those emotional triggers. And the other thing I would just say
mm,
is that when you are in your extremes, when it comes to your emotion, when you're in both extremes, whether you're so sad or whether you're so joyful and all of those things, I feel it's so important for us to take a moment to just calm down a little bit,
mm,
right? To
mm,
just take a moment and just calm down, just break it a little bit. It's going to really help. And the reason why
mm,
it helps is because you won't take irrational decisions at those points in time, right?
mm,
Some people have signed contracts all in the name of, oh, especially when you're in the music industry and a label wants to give you a contract, $5 million, and you don't you are not you couldn't even
You
read
didn't read
all the
it.
terms of the contract, you just signed the whole thing.
Mm,
And in 2 or 3 years, you just find out your life is you just find out that you are in a cage. You can't do the
mm,
things you really want to do, and before you know it, in our world today, you see lawsuit upon lawsuit. They can sue
mm,
you or charge you to court, right? So
mhm,
all because of one moment where you're so overly so joyful. And the same
mm,
thing when you're so sad, people have taken decisions that has really affected their life all
mm,
because they are sad. In the same way, when you're too happy too, there are people who jump into that car in that mode, and they had accidents, some lose their life, some, it just calls for us to just calm down in both extremes. And the calming down help us to be able to think critically, to be able to see things objectively, and to be
mm,
able to take the right decision. So if you can
mm,
do that, I can tell you you'll be able to manage those emotions very well. And lastly, I would just say, if you need counseling, please don't don't deny it. Don't deny it. Just acknowledge that, okay, I need help. I need to
mm,
talk to a therapist. I need to talk to,
mm,
and where I came from, it's something most people don't acknowledge. People find it difficult to go to a therapist or to go to a counselor to expose themselves or to reveal their secret. But trust
yeah,
me,
so
it can really help you a lot, and it
yeah.
will help you to have a good relationship, and you will enjoy your life for the better.
Mm, mm. Thank you for that. And I think from that, you already mentioned you have to be calm. Because there have been situations where people even committed suicide or killed themselves because they were a bit down. At
Mm-hmm.
least think through of the situation before taking any decision, especially a major decision, just to avoid regret. And if it's very serious, reach out to a therapist and consider that. Like, because most people are always afraid. How would I put all my stories or my
Mm-hmm.
insecurities out there for people to talk
Yeah,
about? Let me just
that's
continue
true.
that way. Yeah, but it's so important. Just talk to someone that you're so sure that, okay, a professional. I think a professional will always help. Talk to a professional about it, and I believe this will go a long way. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming, and thank you for just taking our time to be on the podcast today, Viola.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And guys, we'll see you next week on another episode of Clustered Nuts, where we'll still be talking about the same issue, emotions, and looking at it from a broad perspective, seeing life and seeing life as it is, so that we can have a balanced view of it. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.